and what this has done in terms of creating an atmosphere of dehumanization. That is the word I want everybody to remember today. That is what we are ultimately fighting. That has always been the problem. It was the problem when the Belgians murdered millions of Congolese in Africa, and nobody batted an eye. The Belgians at the time were seen as civilized, and the Congolese as barbaric, as savage. Dehumanization was at play when the British murdered to extinction the native inhabitants of the island of Tasmania that I had the privilege of visiting south of Australia, hunting them like rabbits while wearing white gloves and their pinky sticking as they drink their tea. Civilized. What is civilized and what is barbaric? And today, this dehumanization continues and is necessary in order to be able to pull off what is morally unconscionable and get away with it, or so they think. It was necessary when the United States went on an ill-fated, misguided war in Iraq that caused the murder of 1 million people. Dehumanization was necessary. And by extension, those who try to speak out and fight this dehumanization and cause a problem for this war machine, for this military-industrial complex, need to be dehumanized in equal measure and censored so that their voice and their pushback can be nipped at the bud. And let me be clear, and I've said this in the media countless times, dehumanization happens in two ways, not one. One is assertion. That's probably what everybody's familiar with. That means when somebody asserts, these are human animals, human shields. Whatever narratives that dehumanize Palestinians is different and apart from the rest of humanity. But in addition to the assertion, there is the omission, by omission, when the suffering is not shown, when the children dying are not talked about, when the everyday life of Palestinians is never mentioned, as if they're a bunch of militants, 2 million of them, sitting there with guns, just waiting for the next attack or the next raid. There is no sense of a Palestinian street, a Palestinian family. These people have weddings, and they have parties, and they have birthdays, and they have funerals, and they have grandmothers, and they have hospitals and clinics, and they have everyday life. But you'll be forgiven to believe that none of this exists because you never see it. We're not allowed to see it, because if you see it, you may feel sorry for them. You may actually have a heart and say, oh my God, this is wrong, and start calling your elected officials or writing letters to the editor, so you're not allowed to see it. Omission is dehumanization.